Alright, so true story, woke up, it's really early, too early, and I got this idea for Inspiration Wednesday. So you gotta act on it, because sometimes ideas don't come back. So I have, it's hard to see here, but I have a stencil, my bird stencil, and I've got some light modeling paste. Now I use the light, it dries quicker. You can use this with really any modeling paste, it doesn't really matter. And it comes in different thicknesses, it's like the texture of it, the density, whatever. I like the light modeling paste. Now this is really dirty, so hopefully I don't have brown everywhere, because it looks like I'm egg. Anyway, I have wax paper underneath this, and I'm going to make skins. So I'm going to use this small bird here, and I am going to build this three-dimensional bird, let it dry on this wax paper, and ideally I should be able to peel it off. So it's really early, so I might as well get this done. This is going to have to dry, depending on where you live, depending on how long it's going to take to dry, because it usually takes about, I would say, 6 to 8 hours to cure. Using the light modeling paste does help you a little bit. And I want a pretty thick layer because I want to make a skin. And I'm going to make two. I'm going to make this bird facing this way. And then I'm going to wash it off. And then I'm going to make the other bird facing the other way so that I can make a bird sandwich. And this might not make sense to you yet. And it really, to be honest, doesn't quite make sense to me yet. It's just, again, one of those ideas you just wake up and you're like, I wonder if that'll work. So this is not me saying, look at what I'm doing. It's, look, I wonder if that will work. So it gets pretty thick because I want to make that skin. And hopefully I've got it in every spot. And hopefully I lift this up. I've got bird. Alright, I don't know if you can see. That's pretty thick. I'm going to go and, actually, to be honest, you should clean this off. It's all reusable. Because I have it on so thick, I will scrape that and put it back in the jar. And then I'll go wash. It is early. Wash off the extra. And then come back and make a second one facing the other direction. Alright, I had to wash it off so I can flip it over to get another clean bird. Give me the bird. I have like morning voice too. Sorry, it's like deep and sexy. Anyway, I'm going to do this in the opposite direction. Another thick modeling paste skin. Alright, it's a little bit later and the sun's actually come up and I've got stuff all over. I've been kind of prepping while that's been drying. So here's what I have. This is still drying and this is going to take a little while to dry. I'm going to put this to the side over here. So that said, I have taken out my Wild and Free stamp set and I set it up on, this is this really cool Prima block that it's huge. So when you use the big stamps like I have, it just helps you put them all down. So I've done two things. So I've taken this stamp here, the poppy, and I've put it on there and you see it's running off, so you don't want part of it. And then this thing, this stamp right here says all good things are wild and free. All right, this is a very convoluted idea I have in my head, so just bear with me here. So I'm gonna stamp this down first. And the bird stencil I used, it has the positive and negative space. So I'm gonna be using the positive space soon. But what I've been kind of practice stamping over here to see if that's what I want in my junk book here. So I've stamped this, right? And then like the bird, I'm going to put the bird down and mask that area and paint around it with joint compound. So that kind of sits underneath. And then I switch the stamp up. So something like that. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to stamp that in there. I have a lot of stuff. So like the idea is coming too quick for my hands to move to do it. So let me put that over there. And I've got my huge, this is another good save, the big ink pad, because if you've got big stamps, well, it makes sense to have a big ink pad. So I'm going to put that over there, and I'm just going to go in there. I don't really need to get the whole flower. And I guess I should just make sure it's straight. But I'm going to stamp that here, and if it's not straight, guess what? Who cares? And I'm going to do that. All right? That wasn't the best stamp either. I don't care. So that is that. Don't wiggle it. That's what I did and it got a little bit blurry. But okay, it's wild and free, just like me. Alright, so this will go here. I'm going to mask this off. And I kind of put it over too far to the side. Now, do I want to cover it up? Or maybe I'll just keep it like that. Why go backwards? We don't go backwards. Maybe I'll just put the stamp in there. Or I could tilt him. Or not. Questions. I don't know. Why not just do that? Right? Or not? I can paint over that. Because, you know, I didn't gesso the background. I should do that. I didn't put tape down either. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to gesso this, I'm going to restamp this and rethink it. And then I'll be back. All right, so I've got the tape in there. I'm just going to gesso over the sucker because that's what you can do. So I'm going to do that. All right, I put 2 coats of gesso on this side to cover it up, and it may or may not be dry. I just don't have the patience to wait. So I'm going to try to restamp it, move it over just a little bit. This is going to be my last attempt, so hopefully it's pretty decent. And let's see how we do. Hey, that's better. That was much better. Okay, so I'm glad I gessoed. And I am going to now put my bird down. Now I'm going to use some gel medium to put him down. And here's the reason why. I'm going to put the bird on top of this. Hopefully that's dry. And I'm going to put some gel medium around the outside so that I put, when the joint compound, it's not going to seep underneath. Like I'll get a nice crisp edge. And the joint compound really should camouflage everything in here anyway. But I'm just going to go ahead and do it just to be safe. And I'm lining this guy up like it really matters, but it really doesn't. So I probably need a clean brush if I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to get a pretty decent amount of joint compound. Like that brush is brown. That's not going to work. How did I just clean that gesso brush? And I'm going to take joint compound. So just let me talk about this really quick before I do that, because then I'll just time lapse. So this is joint compound. It looks like spackle. This stuff, it's from the hardware store. You put it on your walls. Looks like this. It's a little light and fluffy. I buy the light version. And I'm going to use that like a modeling paste, only it's not modeling paste, it's joint compound. Now if you live in another country, you might have difficulty finding joint compounds because from what I understand, like Europe, they don't build houses like we do here. They use plaster for the walls, so joint compound might not be a product you have, but it might be called something else. And I think in Sweden they told me it's called spackle. But if you buy spackle, it's not the same thing in the US. So it's very, very confusing. But this is basically the stuff when you put your drywall up, it's the stuff that goes in the middle. It's the mud, so to speak. So is it art grade? No, it's for your house. Is it something that's acid free? No. So if you're wondering, should I put my cherished family memories on there? Maybe, maybe not. It's up to you. So I am first going to go ahead and put the regular gel medium, which is just clear paint. So if you're wondering why, it's just going to keep it so that nothing's going to seep underneath. And sometimes I find it's easier if I can make this flat. I don't know if we can do that today, but this way it's not like bowing like that. Might help me work with this. Okay, so I'm going to be pretty heavy-handed with this, and this will hold it down and seal the edges. Do you have to do this? No. Does it make me happy? Yes. And then I am going to get, I'm going to do a lot of things. So this is the first step. I am going to get a putty knife and go into that and just kind of scrape it onto the book. Now just be careful because I don't want to scrape it off of that. I'm just going to go in here like this. And I'm not going to start on there. I'm going to kind of start over here. Now I want a thin enough coat everywhere. I should probably get a clip so you can see. Because you can't. Put that there. So I'm just going to kind of scrape it. I'm just giving some texture. Did you even need the gesso? No. Again, makes me happy. So I'm just, and I want texture. So it's not about making like this perfect kind of placement of joint compound. This is just going to be a textural element. Almost like Venetian plaster. That's another good substitute. If you can find Venetian plaster, it's very similar to that. You'll get a very similar result. Alright, let's just, that looks good. When I glaze over this later, oh. Anyway, so let's see if I can't work this in here. And I want a very thin amount of this on here. Just a little, just enough. And I have big plans for this inclusion, so I'm not even going to go to the edge. I'm just going to leave it like that. I know I can't reveal my madness as of yet. All right, I'm just gonna put that there. And you can wait, like if you wanna do that and wait for it to dry and then do the other side, you can. Of course, you know, I have no patience, so right, this is gonna be the tricky part. I gotta see if I can get it over here, kind of scrapey without moving the stencil. All right, so I've got that on there, and I went a bit thick over here, and I've got to be able to pull that stencil out, so I've got to find it. And like I said, my brain is working way faster than my hands can function, so I might just like stop and take a breath, but I've got a piece of paper out here just because I'm going to make a mess, and it's easier to just throw that piece of paper away. But I've got a pin, and I'm just going to have to try to find the edge of that stencil. Like, I think I found it there. Okay, let me try to lift this up. Oh, there we go. Oh, cool, cool, cool. All right, so I have to clean this off. So I'll be done. Just to let you know, I scraped as much as I could off that mask and then rinsed it off. Don't put that down your sink. It won't like it. So I still have a hot mess going on here. I've got strips of fabric. Now this fabric actually has book text printed on it. I know you're gonna ask, where did you get that? I've been hoarding that fabric for about 8 years, so you're never gonna find it again. But yeah, I have it. And I've also got some canvas. So I'm going to use, like, here's the printed text one. I'm going to make this nest with this joint compound. So I am going to take this on the back side of it. Like I said, this idea may be the best. It might be epic or like an epic fail. So I'm just going to take this. This is going to become the glue. This is still wet. And I'm just going to collage it down. So maybe some bits of the text is going to show and some might be hidden, and I don't really know, to be honest. We're just gonna see. So I'm pretty confident if I were sitting in the room with you as you were watching that, a third of you are going to be totally appalled. The other third of you are going to be like, no freaking way. And the other ones are going to be like, what the fuck? Because I know that you're probably going, that's just stupid. That's a journal page. But you know what? That's what enters my head in the middle of the night that I have to wake up and do. So what I'm going to do now is let that dry, but I don't know if you can clearly capture. I should probably try to zoom in as tight as I can so that you can see. So I have plans for this. I'm planning on basically putting that skin here and like trimming this to size so it like overlaps. So that's why I just need a little bit on the front and the back, but like towards this side here. And I've got all this layered stuff. I even left some of these strings just hanging because that makes me happy. And ideally, in a perfect world, this is all going to dry really hard and crusty. And then I will put a sealant coat on that. So here's the thing with joint compound. Number one, like I said, it probably take a couple hours for this to dry. But not only that, to cure, depending if it's humid, it might take different time frames. And I'm going to do glazes and layers over this. So this is not done in any sense of the word. Joint compound will technically kind of reconstitute it. It like becomes mushy again. So don't be surprised if we put another layer on this, that if you're rubbing and rubbing, it starts to kind of peel or just get soft again, malleable. So, but that's fine by me. Don't be petrified of this process. It's just gunk, and gunk is good. Could you use modeling paste? Yes. Could you use fiber paste? Yes. Could you use super heavy gesso? Yes. Could you use regular gesso? All of the answers to those questions are yes. If you can't find joint compound, don't stress yourself out. It's just a hardware store thing. Like I said, if you're international, you may or may not even have access to this. It might be called something else. or just experiment. I know some of you were talking about plaster Paris, which is just powder you mix with water. That would work, but it does tend to get super hard and it will crack. So in a book like this, something that's not going to crack is better. Yes, joint compound will crack, but we're going to put layers of stuff on it so it won't. So just take a risk. This is an idea that is a risk. I still don't even know if it's going to work or what it's going to look like in the end. Like I said, in my head, this is a fabulous idea and I like texture, so I've achieved that. So I will come back, let this dry, and we'll put other layers on, but don't panic. I was building this and walked away, so I figured it was worthy of a video shot. But I was trying to get this to dry standing up because, you know, I don't like to wait. And I just thought, oh, so I have, oh, look, it's failing me. I've got these 3 clips clipped to each other so that this will not touch the edge here, and then an awl, and then a paintbrush through the hole. So yeah, this may or may not work, but that's how I'm leaving it. It was worthy of a shot. So my little Jimmy rig contraption helped me to allow this to dry. Yes. So I am going to go through, now I want this, and it's really stiff and crusty really. So I need to go in, I'm going to put some fluid matte medium on top of this, and that's just going to seal all those crusty bits, which just sounds disgusting, but and my brush is probably super dirty, but it's going to seal all those crusty bits. It's also going to make the area in here not porous. And I do advise that you don't take your brush into your matte medium because you're contaminated if your brush is dirty like mine. But, you know, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. So I'm just going over this, just making sure, sealing is the wrong word, but I'm sealing this in here. Just putting this coat of clear paint on here just to make sure everything stays. And do I think that this is a permanent solution to the thickness and the crustiness of this page? No, I'm sure 10 years from now, bits of this will be crusting off. Maybe even a week from now, but I'm okay with that. So I'm just working the clear paint, which is that fluid matte medium, into all the little crevices in all the areas that are not covered in joint compounds, like that fabric. When I go ahead and glaze on top of this, that's going to adhere differently. So I'm just trying to get everything almost to the same absorption, especially those really porous fabric fibers. And I'll just cover all this really well, and then we'll come back and we'll glaze. So you know I'm going to have to glaze. So I've got a couple of colors kind of brewing in my head, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do what I'm calling the nest area. And I've got my acrylic glazing liquid, and I'm going to mix that with my raw umber fluid acrylic paint. If I open up the cap, that makes it a little more easier. It's about 50-50, but the more glaze you add, then the more transparent the color will be, and the less, obviously, the more opaque. So it's not an exact science, just kind of wing it. And I'm going to have to wipe this down because, like, this does have the matte medium in here, but I want to make sure that I'm not really colorizing the bird right now. So I'm going to go around it, but I know that stuff's going to get in there. So I want to just make sure I get all those nooks and crannies pretty good. And the color's going to blend, so I don't really need to worry about, like, oh, I missed a spot. Because once I take that baby wipe and rub it through there, it's going to grip. And I really am just excited to see what the heck this looks like. Because, like I said, you just never know. Good idea, bad idea. You don't know until you're all done. To the fat ladies things. So I'll just go ahead, put this on. I'm going to wait about a minute. I'll come back and then I'll start wiping it off with a baby wipe. So this is always pretty baby wipe intensive because the more baby wipes you have, the cleaner the surface you rub in. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do like one wipe through, and I'll use one baby wipe, and that'll be pretty dirty because I'll be taking the paint that I'm wiping off and still applying it. So I'm not really getting it clean, but it, in my opinion, just kind of loosens it a little bit. And then you take the other baby wipes and you decide how dark you really want that color in there. So this is kind of like the first wipe through. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's probably the most spectacular thing ever that I've got going on here. Loving that texture. Does it look like a nest? Probably not. Does it make me happy? Oh, hell yeah. Now, the teal is fairly opaque, even with the glaze. So I'm just putting a little bit more in there. All right, so it's been about a minute, and I'm just gonna rub this down. If you are feeling like you're wiping too much color off, wait another 30 seconds just to let it sink in. I will be honest, sometimes I err on the side of caution, and maybe wipe it off sooner than I should. But I just know that if I play it safe, then I can always add a second coat of glaze. But I kind of can't undo it once it's permanently stuck. So I did take some heat to that to accelerate the drying time just because I don't have any patience. And I put a little phthalo turquoise on here. I'm going to add the glaze to that. And I'm just going to do that second coat. I'm hoping it just gives this really pretty shadow. My brush is almost kind of clean, so it might have some teal in it. So we're just going to roll with that. And see what we get. Alright, gave it a minute, and I'm just going to start to wipe down that next layer of glaze. May have left it on a little bit longer because I've got some staining. Like I said, if you don't get it right away, you're going to have like the paint, it's dry, so you just leave it. So my bird's going to have some cool staining, so I'm just going to leave him there. So now that I've got those glazes on, I'm going to let those dry fully, and then I'm going to come back to this, and then we're going to add some more little details. Remember, I've got that skin that I've got to put on there as well. So do you remember the skins I made with the modeling paste a while ago? So I peeled this guy off, but I'm just going to show you. Because it's on the wax paper, the skin just kind of peels off. So now I've got these really cool pieces that are birds, and I'm thinking of putting them back to back, which is my original idea here, and kind of putting them here and trimming down this thing so there's like a bird that way and a bird this way, which is kind of my idea, making that center my focal point. So what I thought, and they're kind of pliable, I thought I have to colorize them first, but I really thought after I colorize them of like trimming this down maybe around this way so that this piece isn't showing, you know, like there's just dimensional birds glued together kind of here, so he's this way and that way. Anyway, so that's my thought. So colorizing them, that's the next thing, picking a color for them. So I kind of have been thinking quinacridone nickel azo gold, and maybe I should just go with that because I don't have a better thought process, but like pink will work, red will work, I mean any color really work. And then I got to do the bird, so I'm thinking maybe I'll do this one orange and this one pink, who knows. Anyway, so I'm going to get another bit of glaze. I'm going to make these birds the same color, front and back, and the glaze should do them nice. Pick up the texture. Yeah, I got to find my paint color. I might as well just do it on here, because why not? So I've got my little nickel azo gold here. I'm getting the glaze together. I probably need a clean brush since these are all skankified. Lord knows what color this might be in the end, but here goes. Alright, I wait about a minute. Now let's wipe these suckers down. Oh, pretty. Pretty, pretty. I might even glaze them again because it's so pretty. Alright, so I blasted them with the heat gun, and I am thinking, I was going to do the raw umber, which would match that. So I'm thinking to stand out a little bit, and these are totally not dry, but I don't care, I have no patience. I'm thinking raw sienna, which is just a bit darker and grungier than the nickel azo gold. So I'm thinking, why not do that? I'm just tearing off a sheet of the palette pad because I did make a hot mess. I had it everywhere. So let's just see how that works. And then maybe even a little burnt umber light if that's not rich enough. But let's just go in with that and see what I get. Let that dry a little. And we'll come back. Alright, so let that sit a minute. Let's see what we get. Oh, happy. Oh, happy. Oh. Listen, color shouldn't make me this happy, but it sure the hell does. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Bring it, baby. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I was thinking of maybe going burnt umber light. I'm not sure. I might just leave these like this. Maybe I'll leave these like this for now, because I can always glaze over them. I mean, they don't need to be done at one time, Donna. So I'm thinking, do you think maybe pink? Maybe this bird could be pink, and then the orange and the pink, and then there's tons of colors. Or do I do the bird the same color? Decisions. I don't like making these kind of, because anything could really be the right thing. So, all right. So let's see. This guy would be sitting here. And he's really dirty on the back side. I probably can't put him down, but he's gonna be sitting here. So I'm thinking like a pink bird. Because I think two orange birds might be just, I That's just too much, right? But the magenta and the orange look nice. Maybe I'll just go in with magenta. And we'll see. Ooh, I have violet too, which would give it a little spin on things. Ooh, I'll try violet. Even though I don't like purple, I do like this color. So let's just see if we can. And it's not going to really stick too well in there anyway. So, because it's smooth, there's no texture in it. Oh, that's a lot. I bet you I could even not use glaze, but I'm just going to use a little bit of glaze for this. I'm winging this, by the way. I don't know if you noticed. I'm totally like, what if I do now? Which is fun, right? Alright, so let's try to get it clean. I have nothing but skanky brushes. And they're all brown because I've been glazing everything lately. Alright, so we got this, and we'll go in here. We'll just see. This is that quinacridone violet. Or maybe we love this, maybe we hate this. Maybe, who knows? Take a look with the orange, though. Alright. So I think, should I let this sit for very long? Maybe I just kind of wipe this back and see what we get. And then, I don't know. We'll just keep playing around with this. If I let it sit, if I were a patient person, I would let that sit. But we all know the answer to that. So I don't want it around the outside. Around the outside, around the outside. I know, I'm dosey-doing. I'm just really talking to myself because I'm nervous. It's like a nervous thing. You're on camera. Don't make a hot mess for everyone. I'm not afraid. Hot mess at all. I really kind of like the way the tail looks in there. She could tail feather. Or not. What if I'm talking out loud to you now. Let me put a little bit more in there. But what if I glaze, like let this dry and then like kind of glaze in a brown in there. Might be fun. Or it might be gross. Who knows? I should let that sit for a second, shouldn't I? I should. Yes, Donna, you should. But you're not going to. We all know the answer. You get a clean one, that would be easier. I will say, like, the idea that woke me up stopped at this point. I kind of like that little hook thing going on there, too. How about I just let that dry where that is? How about I stop playing with it for right now? I'm thinking there could be another color that might go in there, another layer, another glaze. I'm not sure. But for right now, I'm going to just get the color around the edges here. And I'm leaving that. I'm going to leave that. Alright, so here's my next thought. That's dry-ish. And I'm thinking if I put the burnt sienna on the birds to give it a shadow, well, maybe I should put the burnt sienna on this bird to give it a shadow. And again, we don't know what it's going to be. That's the fun. I kind of really like that. I have never used quinacridone violet and burnt sienna together. I'm a happy person. Alright, so I don't even know if these guys are dry. They don't look dry. But let's wipe off the wetness back here if there's any. Oh yeah, you're a hot mess over here. And let's glue those suckers together. So I'm thinking, like I said, the other way. This way, because I want them to go in opposite directions. Gluing them together, maybe trimming this up. So I got to decide where this is going to sit. Maybe I should decide the first one and then trim it out and then glue the one behind it. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. Something like this. So I'm going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this out from underneath. I'm walking around because I left my scissor across the room. But I am going to just kind of get an eyeball of this. And since it's going to be covered up, I don't really care if it's precise. I don't really need this cut to the exact dimension or shape of these birds because they're just gonna be covered up. So I'm thinking like this. And what type of glue to use? Great question. I'm glad you asked. I'm going to use Helmar Quick Dry because number one, it's quick drying and it will hold a small child to the wall if you let it. Not that I know. Just saying. I imagine it could. I'm not gluing my children to the wall. All right, I'm loading this sucker up. And I'm an over everything, over adheser, over eater. I just over. So You probably only need a third of what I just put on there. But how would that be fun? So I'm thinking, now that I've got that glued onto there, I press this one behind it. So just to let you know, it's quick dry, but I just decided not to hold it anymore, and I'm doing that. So, yeah, I guess I could probably jimmy rig another holder thing, but I'm just basically clipping them because I wanted to dry, but I didn't want to flip up, and I'm okay with, I'm just kind of knowing going in. There might be spaces and stuff, and I might have to paint in them, so just kind of get this sucker stuck, and then I'll come back. I gotta be honest, that is so freaking awesome. I'm freaking out. I love that. All right, so it wasn't easy. It was kind of a bitch to get this to stick together, and it's still kind of not, but I mean, I know it's stuck. It's not that it's not, but it wasn't kind of like, oh, just take two things and glue them together. It wasn't as easy. So I am going to stamp the date. I swear, every time I can't find stuff. All right, so what is today? I think it's the 4th. Oh, well, it's going to be the 4th today. And I'm going to put that in my brown hole. And I know you're probably thinking, where is she going to put her brown hole? But I can't think of a better place to put it than on my bird. And I know, I actually can hear you screaming through the thing, no, not through the bird. I'm doing it because that right there, focal point, happy place. I don't even know if this will go through the bird, but we're about to find out. And if it doesn't, I'm going to have holes in my bird. It doesn't. Let's see. It goes through one bird. I don't care. I'm doing it again. You gotta have 3, and I'll like rock at night if I don't have 3. So I might as well just have. There we go. Totally did not go through the bird, but look it. He's fabulous, and he's stapled. He's been totally punctured. Love it. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do, which usually is that tag, but I think I'm just gonna take, and this is gonna have to dry. Like, I still could probably clip that and glue it, but I think I'm okay with whatever ends up being flippy or whatnot. But I'm just gonna take some leftover of that raw sienna and just kind of fill in the white parts as best I can. Otherwise, I really don't care. I just figure, let's make them feel whole. So I think I'm gonna let this cure. I'm gonna let this just sit open for a couple days, and then I'll put the door lens wax on it. Mostly because it's a lot of acrylic. I've got a lot of gooey things here, and I could rub that glue off, but it's just not cured yet. And just to protect it, because even all these bumpy things, if it gets really hot or humid, they'll stick, whatever. So that said, here's to waking up in the middle of the night with some great ideas that make you want to touch yourself and smack your mama. Happy Inspiration Wednesday, people.